The suffering you caused, the pain I felt, left its marks for years to bear. The shame that was not mine to carry, the path and lies felt so heavy. Eyes where judgment and hatred rose to consume the truths of days long ago. Not a simple word I uttered, weighed down by guilt, composed by shame. What you needed to carry, I held dear, for within it lay myself so dear. Those lonesome hours, the pride you took, sabotaged my honor. Without, I was bare. A blank page where you wrote your story. With my red blood, your ink pen filled. Who was I to scream and yell? You overweighed me. For yours was an accomplice, the one that birthed me.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We just landed at Toronto Airport. We're here to meet a young lady who was sexually abused by her own biological father from the age of 6. A lot of heinous crimes were committed against this child. Let's head to her house and listen to her story. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We know this is a very serious crimes committed against you, sexual abuse. Now, to the audience, I've spoken to you many times before, but to the audience who don't know, when did this abuse start and who did this abuse?
So it started very young, about the age of 6, and it was my father.
Do you think it could have happened before that?
I do think it could have happened before that. What I remember isn't certain acts. I remember feeling uncomfortable. I remember being groomed a certain way. I remember just being manipulated and to believe everything he was saying was right. There was a sense of like terror that would take over. And it wasn't just fearing an adult. It wasn't fearing like like that's your father, you fear them. It was like complete terror.
Did he go straight on to full abuse straight away?
No, it wasn't straight away. When I look back at it, there was a lot of things that led up to it. There was a lot of like behavior that was taunting. There was a lot of just a whole like mind takeover. Like there was no sound sense of self for me. There was.
When you said taunting, so can you remember, would he belittle you? Would he say certain things to you?
Yeah, there was, like if I ever said anything, it was, that's not the right way, or there's no way I can remember that, or there's no way I'm feeling that, there's no way I can think that. Everything that I thought or felt was wrong. There was always something that came back, and he would say things like, you're a kid, what do you know? And he would like shut me down, like if you say something I will slap you. There was a lot of that kind of behavior, very like just like minimizing like as self.
So would he be overpowering you with his words, but would he ever physically slap you, assault you?
He would. So it was intimidating through like every means possible.
And how far back can you remember, not sexual abuse, but the physical violence against you?
I don't know any different.
Can you remember that first time, the sexual abuse?
No. I remember certain parts. I don't remember the exact first act. I remember being very confused. I remember like a sudden feel of like complete blankness.
Was it evening time? Was it towards bedtime? Was it daytime? Do you remember anything like that? Was it in the home?
It was in the home. I'm sure people were awake. And sorry, I can't.
You can't go back that far. Okay. Okay. And then from there on, would the abuse, once it's happened, would the abuse be a regular thing?
It was. It was a normal thing in my life. I didn't know anything different.
Off camera, you were talking about sort of very vivid memory of that first event, or maybe events afterwards.
I remember being very little, like my feet wouldn't reach the edge of the couch. I remember sitting and I was playing with something, and like I had something in my hand, and he came and sat really close to me, and he was like whispering something, and it was and I felt very uncomfortable. And I remember his face, I remember his dark hair, his dark mustache, and he only had like a mustache at that time. And I remember he was wearing this beige shirt, and I remember like just getting that goosebump feeling, and it was very uncomfortable. Like I was very uncomfortable. I remember I kept fidgeting I was listening to what he was saying, but I wasn't looking at him. And he was touching my thigh and he was touching my arm. And I kept fidgeting with this thing.
Would you have been downstairs or upstairs in your room? Can you
No, there was
can
a
you
couch.
recall?
There was a couch.
So you'd be probably more like in the dining room or downstairs?
Yeah.
And this abuse carried on for how many years, dear?
14 long years.
And again, would it be, as far back as you can remember, would it be once a week, once a month, or more sort of common than that?
It was frequent. It was enough times a week, sometimes many times a day. It was, it got more and more frequent.
So there'd be days when it would be more than once a day then?
Yeah.
Okay. And would most of your abuse take place at home, or were there other places around where he would abuse you?
There were other places. There was in the car. There was when he would drive to go pay his bills, which was at City Hall, and I would wait outside. And I'm just remembering like his words, like he would just be very like soft-spoken and kind and like sweet, like you would talk to a little child if you're giving them a praise. And and it would be sometimes at people's houses. It would be, we took a trip back home. It happened then a few times.
When you say home?
Back in India.
Okay. How old was you then?
The last time I was 13.
So he abused you at his ancestral home in Punjab? How long was you in Punjab for?
I think a couple of months.
Did it only happen on the one occasion or many occasions there?
No, it happened more than once.
So coming back to the in the car and City Hall, I'm just trying to get my head around it. You're in the middle of the day. There's plenty of people around. And where was your car parked? In a car park somewhere where there's nobody there, or?
No, right in the front, right by street parking, right in front of City Hall. And but I was little, like I couldn't even see over the window. I remember he would say things like, "Oh, I'm going to let you sit in the front," and I remember we weren't allowed to sit in the front because we were kids. And so it was like a treat, and he would get me food and be like, "Oh, I'm getting you food," and there would be people walking around. There'd be normal people walking around, and he would. I don't remember like if he looked up or anything like that to see, but he would try, like, yeah, he would just see, he would do what he needed to do. It was never that my clothes would be off or my pants would be down. It would always be on top of the clothes. It'd be him going through the top of my shirt or under my shorts, and my shorts would be like really big and loose shorts, and then a lot of the times it was his hand down his pants, but nothing was visible to like the naked, like somebody walking by. But yeah, it was broad daylight.
And were there other places? I mean, you said that even in other people's homes, or your other family members' homes, or
Yeah,
Montreal would be one place. Yeah. Any other places?
Yeah, we often had sleepovers to many of they had a couple of friends who I know they still do. And we would go to their house and have sleepovers, or the kids would sleep over, and he would find a way there. He would always be the one that came and checked on the kids. He would always be the one that like he was just the one that was around. Like he would make it a point to be like, I'll go do this, or I'll call the kids, or I'll go make sure they're sleeping.
Yeah, I was. We've had these many conversations before, and I mean, most of the abuse would have happened in the bedroom.
In the house.
In the house. Yeah. How did it make you feel? Or can you sort of go back in time and when you're lying in bed and you may hear him coming up the stairs and...
I don't think I ever slept.
No.
Every creak, every sound, everything. My body would just tense. It was like I slept with one eye open.
And what was his move? He would just sort of drag you out of bed. Were you not with other siblings in the room?
Yeah, I was. He would hit my feet, tell me to wake up, and he would even pinch if I didn't. And I was too scared not to listen. I would pretend that I was sleeping, or I would pretend like I would go to a point where I wouldn't even breathe. So I'm like, for some reason, like, I don't know, I was like, if he just doesn't think I'm awake, maybe he'll go away, but he never went away. He just would pinch harder, or twist my toe, or hit my feet.
Were you sharing that bedroom with your sister or
I was.
other siblings?
I was sharing the bedroom with my sister.
Just the one person you were sharing with?
And till this day, I don't understand how she never woke up.
Would the abuse happen on the bed, or...?
No, he would actually pull me off the bed, and we have this mattress that we would pray on, and he would often sit and pray on it, and sometimes he would lay on that mattress. On that mattress, or it would be on the floor. Sometimes he would take me into the bathroom.
Is where most of the abuse took place?
Yes. We used to have our bed against the window. And then we had a little shelf here. And the mattress that I actually talk about used to be on the floor here. And he would come in, and I could hear the floor creaking. And he's a heavier person. And I would sleep beside the wall, and I remember so many times just laying there and like not breathing, and just thinking that maybe he'll come and just not do anything.
But then that wasn't the case. He would do something.
He would wake me up, however, and then bring me here. And then
How long would the abuse last for?
some like 20 minutes or so, half an hour sometimes.
And you never spoke about this to anyone while you were young?
And we had a bathroom in the bottom level of the house. And I don't think there's much you could hear from that bathroom. And
So
that's
are we
it.
talking about the basement?
The basement. And my room was right by the stairs to the basement.
Okay. So a lot of the abuse would happen in the basement as well?
In the bathroom.
In the bathroom. You said that he used to say certain words to you like, every daughter has a relationship with their father like this.
Yeah. He would say like this is how I show you, like मैं तेनू प्यार करता हूँ. And like just certain words that like when you translate them, it's like every father is like this, or every father does this, or every father shows their love like this. He just made it seem so normal.
So when you're growing up, you know, moving on from 6, if you're 10, 11, 12, did you ever thought that if he's saying these kind of things to you, that every father has a relationship with his daughter like this, did it ever occur to you that he might be doing it to your younger sister?
Yeah. But for some reason in my brain, like I was isolated. In my brain, I believe that this is when I came to realize what it was. It became very isolating. It became very that I'm going through this.
Okay. So when did the penny finally drop? When did you realization hit, and what age was it?
It was at the age of 13. And it was through a sex ed curriculum at school. And we were just watching something, and on TV they show these videos through this class you have to take through physical education. And at one point, like, they're just talking about like other stuff, their body developing, sexual intercourse, things like that, and then it just goes into sexual abuse. And I remember there were these like 2 arms up, and I remember the word on the screen, and for some reason, like, I was so curious, and I watched it, I listened to it, and I froze. And I remember realizing that this is happening to me, and it's my dad. And I remember thinking, I can't tell anybody it's my dad. And I had no idea what to do. And at that point, like, everything I had ever known to be true became a lie. Everything that I felt uncomfortable about, everything I had questioned in the past, every feeling I had felt, every anger, anything I had ever felt, it was all real. And it all made sense. And it all was like now when I look back at it, like, thank God for that class. Like, thank God for that education, because I don't know where I would be if I wasn't
so
sitting
that one
in that
lesson, it just clicked.
And they were emphasizing, like, it's wrong. It's a violation. It's they're talking about consent. And I remember feeling all those things. I remember feeling like I was just violated. I was just torn apart. And yeah.
So just that penny dropping then, and you spoke about your feelings. What was your next sort of step?
I did tell somebody that day, but it wasn't anybody in authority. And I was advised that I need to tell my mom about it. And I remember feeling like I couldn't. I didn't know what to do. I still remember that day like it was yesterday.
So you told a school friend?
I told a friend.
Navdeep told me about what happened to her in school. I remember she had a very creative way of sharing it. It was through a game. I think that made it easier for her to tell me. I remember being really surprised. I remember feeling hurt for her. And I remember feeling like powerless. So I remember that the best I could do at the time was to give her some advice, the best a 12-year-old could give, and I tried to just be present and to listen. She decided that we would play hangman, and she spelled out 2 words with the blocks. And I get frustrated easily, I know, so I think I asked for a hint. And she told me that the hint was something she has had to live with. And it turned out that the 2 words were sexual abuse.
How did she take it? Do you remember the look on her face when when you told her?
I remember we were both scared.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just scared. We didn't know what to do. I know she was angry for me. And but mostly we were scared. We're little. We're only 13.
What time was the lesson? Towards the end of the day? Or?
Midday, like
Midday.
after a break.
And you attended school after that lesson and carried on
I did.
in school?
I sat through the whole day because I couldn't go home. I would get in trouble. They would ask me.
So you've told your friend, then what happens?
Then I walk home
Alone?
alone. And I remember that was like the longest walk ever. And I remember just holding my head down. And I remember hesitating to open my door and go inside. And I remember looking at everybody, and it was like all slow motion. Like everybody's
all
coming
home?
in.
They were all home?
No, they were all coming in one at a time. And I'm just like, I didn't know who to say what to. I remember just looking at everybody's faces. And I remember just freezing. Like I froze. I froze in time.
And did anybody come and speak to you and ask you what's happening? Or?
No.
What transpired after that then? That particular day, how did it... did you ever talk to your mom? Did you?
No. It was like any other day. Just do homework, make food, get ready for bed, and that's it.
But I believe that he kept doing what he was doing to you even after that lesson.
Yeah, I did. I knew by like every act after that, it was very prominent to me. I knew exactly what he was doing. And I knew like it wasn't right.
When did you actually say enough is enough?
I didn't. I fought a long time against it. Even as a kid, I remember screaming, trying to scream. When I got older, I remember trying to push him away. I remember nearly like just my arm, like I remember trying to pull my arm away so many times so I wouldn't touch him, or he wouldn't make me touch him. And it didn't stop until I told my mom about it.
How old was you then, dear?
14, a good year after that lesson.
So what prompted you to finally go to your mother?
Somebody else was experiencing something in the house that we lived with.
Okay.
And they had mentioned it to me one day. They were upset, and she had mentioned it to me, what had happened to her that day. And then in the coming days after she had told me, we had had a discussion amongst like us kids, when I mean like not my brother and sister included, but me, this other person and her older sister, and they told me I needed to tell my mom And for that reason, I told her.
So listening to her, did you then straight away went to your mum?
No, it was in the coming days. I was scared. We had to talk about it. They really enforced that I needed to do this, and I needed to go and tell my mom about this, and then yeah.
Was the day that you told your mum, was she the only one in the house, or were there other people around you when you told her?
We were alone in her room,
Mm-hmm.
but there were other people in the house. I think mostly everybody was home.
Mm-hmm.
And but she was by herself in in her room, and she was putting clothes away. And I just sat down and told her I had to tell her something. It wasn't as easy. Like, it wasn't easy talking to my parent, like mom, about anything.
Mm-hmm.
I had to really like catch her attention and be like, no, this is serious. Like, I need you to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
And when I told her, it was like she needed an explanation. And it was like, well, what do you mean? Like, he slapped you? He's like, what do you mean, Cheria? What do you mean, Hatlaya? And I remember I didn't have the words. I didn't have the vocabulary to explain it to her.
Mm-hmm.
All I had was the images in my head, what I was feeling, everything that was happening. And I remember pointing to body parts and being like, no, he's been touching me here. He's been touching me here. And she was completely baffled. She was like, I don't know if she was in disbelief or if she knew. But it did not go well for me at all. It turned into something I
She
was
didn't
doing
believe
wrong. No. She said he wouldn't do it off the bat. Or like right away. She was like, no, he wouldn't do that. I'm going to ask him. And I remember telling her, please don't ask him. She's like, no, I have to. And I remember being scared. I remember sitting there and being like, that's it. He's going to kill me.
So did she go downstairs and confront?
She called them up into, at that point, we were in a different room, and she called them up, and we sat in that room, and she was sitting in the middle, and he was sitting on her one side, I was sitting on the other side. And she said, Deep Gandia vi Cheria. And he was like, no. And when I look back at it now, I think like his answering, he didn't need an explanation. He knew right away. So what was he like saying no to? And he denied the whole thing. And she said that he said if I have done something, I didn't mean it like that. And he was still like, you could still tell like that taunting behavior, that taunting look. And he would reach over to hold my hand, and I would pull away. And my mom, like, I don't know. I can't remember the exact words she said, but it was very much like, I know he wouldn't do it. He didn't do it. I know she was mad at him at one point for a brief second, and she's like, oh, chut bol diya then. And he was like, I don't know, but I didn't do anything. And I remember saying, I'm not lying. I am not lying.
So from that day onwards, two parts to the question. Did he ever attempt to touch you again? And what was your relationship with your mum?
I never really had a good relationship to begin with. But it became very aggressive from her side. And it became very like repulsive. She would say taunting things to me. She would say just like hurtful, mean things, call me names, tell me I'm a certain kind of individual, distinguishing characteristics about me.
Do you remember any of that?
I do. She would say like, oh, you're the other woman. She went to that extent.
So if she's disbelieving you, why would she say you're the other woman in his life?
Yeah, I don't know. She would say things like, I stole him. I stole him. She would say things like, I ruined the family. She would say things like,
So it was
like
never his
it
fault.
Like
It was never his
never.
fault, it's your fault.
It's never his fault, according to her.
So you put yourself out there and you led him on and you've done certain things.
Yeah.
According to your mom.
According to her. And his behavior, even though he didn't do anything after that, he was very still taunting. He would stand really, really, really close to me and like watch over my shoulder. He would still put on certain channels on TV and then switch them off or say, oh, I'm not watching this, the kids are. And yeah, and I would be sitting there with a book open and I couldn't say anything, because if I said anything or if I even denied that we were watching it, I would get in trouble. A lot of physical beating.